ironically, it's our topic, which is tonight about forgiveness. If you could go into your heart, if everybody can go into their heart and let go of, if they can, of things that have caused them anger or things that are holding them back, because really what forgiveness is all about, letting go of anger.
So
That's,
Kelly, let me
go ahead,
interrupt you as I get
please.
inspired by your words.
Please.
So so forgiveness is releasing restrictions to the heart.
That's it. That's exactly it. That's
so here
it.
we are. What a great moment, opportunity.
I have chills when you said that. Yes.
Right? We restrict the heart. We want to open that heart up. And the only thing bad about restricting the heart, it holds back that life force. It holds back our breathing.
It holds back good things.
Good things. It's true. And, I'll never forget when I was doing a reading for, I've told the story before here. These parents lost their son, and it was a drunk driver. And the son said, I forgive the driver. And the driver lived, the kid died. And the parents couldn't do it. And the kid said, Mom, Dad, you have to forgive him, because the rest of your life will really be affected if you don't forgive this man. That energy is going to hold you back from other positive things coming into your life.
That's it. That's it. And you heard that from spirit.
Many times, many times. It limits us. It puts a wall up. It blocks that. It restricts life from us. And it can go from generation to generation, by the way, folks.
Yeah.
If you can forgive this person, it can affect your kids.
We go 13 generations back and 13 going forward. I mean, there's that old family, the Hatfields and the McCoys, if you can remember that, right? I mean, all about traumas. It just kept going, and anger and anger and anger. And anger leads to heart attacks.
True.
Cancer.
Barrett, if you love the Lord, remember He forgives, and He wants us to do the same. And you are the Lord. We're all the Lord.
Right. Oh, James, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that, because it's so important. I mean, it's just all about letting go if you can, because forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean you erase the past, or you don't, right. Or you don't forget what happened. It doesn't mean that the other person is going to even change their behavior. You can't control that. All it means is that you're letting go of the anger and the pain so you can move on to a better place.
Yeah, because Karen Abercrombie says, what about if people continue to do you wrong? Well, Karen, don't have them in your life. But boundaries, discover boundaries. You got to honor yourself. Say, that's not good for me. Even if it's family, that's not working for me. You're disrespecting me. And that's it. But if you want to play the same old story, because the payoff is pain, you see. Everybody has a story. And there's, what is your story? What's the payoff? It can be victim, it can be pain. And that's what I know about until I want to release it and let it go.
And wouldn't you agree that when we come to Earth, you sign up for Earth 101. The classes are going to be, you're going to be betrayed. Your heart's going to get broken. You're going to be hurt. And here's the thing about all that. The highest thing you can do for your soul's growth is to forgive.
It's true.
That's it, to forgive everything, because we choose a lot of things before we come in. And then along with that is what you said, James. Along the way, you would set boundaries. Now, just because you set boundaries doesn't mean somebody's not going to pummel through them. You'll have to set them again. It's a constant. Forgiveness is a constant. It's a constant theme in my head. And forgiveness for anything that I've done and anything that other people have done, right?
Yeah, and I find that with forgiveness also, I talked about this today on my TikTok on the soul care, that, really it is, in order to forgive, it's seeing that, like we saw, God light, that divine in each person. And there are some people, as Kelly taught me this, there are some people that don't get it. They're at a certain level, and you got to accept them for who they are, whether it's a family member, a partner, a family, a child, a friend, a worker, coworker. Everybody's at a certain level, and it doesn't mean because you have an insight to something that you're right and they're wrong. Everybody's right at the level that they're at, but it doesn't mean that you can judge them. All they know is what they know. Some people are limited, and some people won't get what you do. There are some people like, I'm a spiritual medium, and I want to give them a message. Let me give this to them. So they're not ready to hear it.
Oh no.
So they're not ready. You got to honor them in the place that they're at and forgive them. I never forget. There's a person I had a hard time with. I'm not going to go into who this was, but I had a hard time forgiving this person until a spirit came through and said, "Let me show you their childhood." And the childhood, that person was abandoned as a baby. And I found out that, wow, that poor person didn't know anything else but abandonment. So always looking out to get something and grab something and be something. And that's where
Mm.
Child came from that, boy came from that upbringing. And I didn't know that about that person. So Spirit showed me their background. They didn't know any better. So when you have a hard time with someone, remember they have a history. And you're really have to look back their background, their history, their childhood, what they know and what they don't know. There are going to be people that know a lot more than us and a lot less than us. Just do it. It's the right thing to do. We want to be forgiven. If we did something was miscommunicated, or the people didn't understand where we're coming from, it was like, wait, no, I didn't mean it that way. Or no, we would want to have them give us the chance, right? We should do the same for them.
Absolutely. I had a client who sent me an email today. Actually, I went to my assistant, and it was a really important one. And I thought, she said to me, she said, Kellee, I hope you and James could answer this question for me. And she said, so basically, she said, my husband's death was complicated. And I had a session with her. I'm not even sure when it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, perhaps. She said, I've been so confused since he passed. And she was very, very angry. And I'll tell you why she was angry. Her husband passed away. He was actually a good guy, but he got involved with drugs and alcohol, and he left her with three small children. And so she's very angry. Now, he's only passed, if anything, maybe a month ago, or maybe a month and a half.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about? So the thing is, first of all, you're in a stage of grief. That there's anger that comes along with this stage of grief. Plus, if somebody passes that way, of course you'd be angry. But at some point,
it's okay.
It's okay to be angry. It would make sense. I'd be furious.
Yeah,
I'd be furious.
Action. It's not. You have to feel it. You got to go through it. You got to sit with it, and it's going to be like that for a little while.
It's going to be that way, and that's the point, James. It's going to be that way for some period of time. It might be 20 years. I mean, it just may be.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I went through a 23-year thing about forgiveness with someone. It took a long time, but thank God.
And that's okay, right? It's okay. If it's 20 years, it's okay.
At least you did it. The most important things, and the most important thing, you're aware of it. So this person that asked this question, they're aware. They're aware. They know that maybe I should be this way. At least they have that awareness, and that's number one, is the awareness.
And talk about the other side with that. So, like her husband, what would he be feeling right now?
Well, her husband would be feeling everything that she would be thinking, and feeling and knowing what she's thinking. And he would have it right in front of him because he'd feel it. When we think of something, that's thoughts. Thoughts are sent out, and the spirit live in a mental world. So they visually, physically, if you will, feel, sense, become part of those thought forms. So he feels her anger. He feels her frustration. He feels that upsetment. And I'm sure he's probably saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. So, it's a transformational time for both of them. So he'd probably be in a certain space. I'm not going to say stuck, but I'm going to say with a mindset of, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I apologize. And he'd be with her all the time, trying to influence her and let her know he's sorry. And if we sit there in that space of, I can't stand that he did this, it'll block certain things. Right. But, you have to go through it. But he's probably around. I'm sure he's around, just saying he's sorry. And there's a life for you to do. And there's no time on the other side. So remember, they're stuck in a mindset for a bit. And the number one, this is an interesting one, I find with the spirit world, we on the earth, and this happens a lot with suicides too, if we can forgive the act and forgive it and say, well, I forgive you. I know you weren't, I didn't really mean to hurt me this way or do this certain thing. I know you can deal with certain things. You decided to end it. If we can forgive them, I find that they, in the spirit world, it's easier for them to forgive themselves.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So true. So true.
So true. Gosh.
I remember I was looking this tonight, some stuff up, and a couple things came up which I wanted to talk about, which was Nelson Mandela when he was in prison for 27 years, and he found it easier to forgive those people who locked him up than not. And he said that was what I had to do. Whether it's so a whole bunch of things I have here about. We can learn from transformational leaders such as Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. During that time, he was isolated in terrible conditions. After being released in 1990, he could have stayed angry at those who had wrongfully imprisoned him. Instead, he chose to forgive them and accept what happened. By releasing the hurt and focusing on a brighter future, he was able to achieve true freedom.
Wow. Wow. True freedom.
True freedom.
Yes.
Because the mindset, you see.
Yes.
That we can't control.
Oh, that's beautiful and so true. Gosh.
So true.
Wow. I mean, one of the things that there are a lot of things you can do about learning how to let go of or how to forgive actually. But the first thing is making a commitment to letting it go. It's like this is not just a second thing or even in a day, but it's something that you do over time. And you start the process with yourself. How do I feel about letting go of what this person did or who this person was, or and then you let it slowly, it starts to sink in. And at some point down the road, it becomes a normal thing where you let go. What do you think of
Yeah,
that, James? Like a
it's a
commitment to it. It's a
yeah,
process.
it's a process, and I think there's 7 steps of true forgiveness. Number
Okay.
one, acknowledge the hurt. Acknowledge
Oh, for sure.
real, it happened, and
Yeah.
acknowledge it. You can't that exactly happened.
Yeah.
Step two, consider how the hurt and pain has affected you.
Mhm.
And in that, I like to say, and how will it affect you if you hold on to that? So for me, to hold on to that hurt and that energy, it's like toxic. And you're bringing that into your body, your energetic body, your light
Yeah.
body, your mental self, your spiritual self, your emotional self. You're bringing all that toxicity and you're giving it life. You don't want to do
Yes.
that. You don't want to do
No.
that. Um, Three, accept that you cannot change. You cannot change what happened. You cannot change a person, perhaps. The thing you can, or you control of, you can't control another person or a situation. You can control how you respond to something. Okay. Step four, determine. Determine whether or not you will forgive or not, and in the time you will, like you said. Step five, repair. Step six, learn. Step seven, forgive.
And
So it's a
forgive. Yeah.
process to learn, to understand. It's a growth process. It's
Yeah.
transformational.
It's transformational.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
transformational. And nobody has to be like you. You just got to be the best you can possibly be. You have to be God on earth. You have to be the divine light on
Yeah.
earth. And you got to be that great ambassador. Like I often say when I teach these class, that mediums are ambassadors to the spirit. Well, we're all ambassadors, and those that are on this website now, you're ambassadors to that light, to the
Right.
oneness, that truth, the divine light within everyone, and that's the responsibility. And Kelly and I have reminded you now that that's your responsibility. That you
Yes.
know better. So now when it's your time to pass over and you have a life
Mhm.
review, don't say to your guides that didn't know anything about forgiveness or this.
Right.
Say, yes, because you tuned into Both Sides Now Beyond with Kelly and James. And
You remember watching
Lionsgate,
that show.
yes, Lionsgate, they reminded you.
Right, exactly. Well, it's funny that it happens to be the Lionsgate because today is a great day to manifest. And it doesn't mean that you have to manifest physical things. Also, you can manifest, I'm ready to let it go now. I'm ready to live my life because when you forgive, forgiveness is transformational with what you just said. It will change your life when you let go of pain and hurt and suffering and all. And listen, I'm not saying this is easy. I have been screwed over. You've been screwed over, right, James? I mean, we've been betrayed. Oh my God, please. And then we made it out.
And I wrote down some notes too, Kelly, which is what you're saying too. And they gave me this right now. I was just sitting here writing a letter or writing, like Kelly said, journaling this week, writing about the hurt, the experience of it, and why did it hurt you. Then the middle ground of where you are now, go the past, what the hurt, when that person did that or whatever happened. And now you feel now. And the next page or the next part of the journal should be your future. If you can forgive that person or that situation, what would your future look like? How would you feel? And
Mm,
I know from forgiveness, it brings a lightness to being. It brings
yes,
a lightness of yourself.
yes,
It really
yes.
does.
And you forgive for yourself. You forgive so you can move on. And the other side, what happens to the person that did you wrong, the person that, believe me, a lot of them are out there. They have to do their own life review.
They have to their own life review, and we have to. No one's better than anybody else. We're all connected. We're all one.
Right.
So it's funny. People talk about group souls, and we come down here, we evolve with ourselves, but we're evolving with our group souls, and we're evolving with the whole planet. We're all here together. We're all connected. I'll never forget this. And I may have spoken about this before in this show. It was just such a pivotal moment in my life as a medium when I was doing a private reading years ago, and I forget who it was for. I think for a girl, and her grandmother or aunt came through, and she asked, "What was your transformational period? What was it like when you first got over there?" And she said, "Well, I don't know. It's just I think she was a Hungarian lady or a Russian lady. And she said, it was all very strange. It was very odd. It was very natural, very real. I saw my father and my brother and my sister, and it was very, very interesting. And I met my guides, she said. And she said, this lovely man, she described the guide, this one guide, and the guide took her on a little journey. And the journey she said she went to was like, she said, it was like kind of a hospital, I guess you would say. And she described it, and she didn't understand what was going on, but the guide kept on insisting, you have to come here with me because this person as a soul has been waiting for you. Wait here, this one. So she walks through and there's this room and there's a bed and there's a soul lying on the bed asleep. And the guide says to this lady, this is a true story. The guide says to the lady, you know this man. He won't wake up until you forgive him. Oh. And she looked, and that was a Nazi soldier that killed her.
Oh my goodness.
And she knew she had to forgive because she didn't want to be in his space of asleep. She knew that she had it's almost like the prince, the kiss of the
just
prince.
Thinking that, yes.
And it's almost that feeling of because we're connected, that person's so low, listen, we don't know why people do certain things in those political times. Who knows what, I mean, I've done a lot of Nazi World War II stories and workshops in Germany. I've done a whole bunch of different things have come through. But she said in that moment, she said, it was the right thing to do. She goes, I never would have thought that. She goes, but I knew you have to be benevolent. This was the right thing to do. And she told her relative, make sure you wake up everyone you know with a smile or a good word. That's what and she was very strong. She goes, that's what I'm telling you. Wake up everyone you know while you're still alive. It'll make a difference.
You're still alive. That's so true.
It'll make a difference in your life, she said.
Wow. Wow. That's really a powerful story.
Very.
Oh my gosh. Well, thinking of that story, it could be too that the roles were reversed this lifetime or another lifetime. So let's talk about that.
So certainly. So in another lifetime, you could have killed someone. We switch roles up. So each lifetime we have to learn both sides of the equation, if you will. Yeah. So how to forgive, how to be forgiven. A lot of people can't be forgiven. They don't want to be forgiven. Again, that story, if you will, with the payoff. And that's what we know, maybe, is victimization and so forth. So
right. And how long do you want to be a victim?
Yeah, how long?
I mean, it's victim consciousness
it gets boring.
It just does. I mean,
there have been people, I let people go from my life because there were people in my life that are just holding on. Nothing was happening. They weren't doing things in their life. Just, oh, poor, pitiful me. And after a while, it got so boring. I'm like, we're here to live life. And I'm like, Kelly, you know this. And I said, bye-bye. And I just like, and so next. What happened? Someone said, oh, they're gone. What about what? Next. Oh my gosh. Thank you, everybody. We'll leave you with that because nothing to top with. Thanks, Renee. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, James. Bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean,